Well, good day and welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. In these videos, I'm going to be talking about something slightly different than I normally do. I'm going to be talking about the inner meaning of Benjamin Creme's paintings. I knew Benjamin Creme for decades. I knew him better than some and not as well as others. But I did know enough about Benjamin Creme that to really know him and understand him, you really had to know how and why he painted the way that he did, because he was an artist and lived the life of an artist. That's the only job he ever had. So he started out when he was quite young painting and tried to, make a career out of it, which he did. That's the only way he got his money, was through his paintings. And when he painted earlier on, his painting, I think, was representative of an artist that was starting to kind of come into his own genius. It wasn't until later in life that he really started to paint more and more like this. But he was influenced by the Renaissance painters, of course. He was influenced by Van Gogh and Picasso, Matisse perhaps, and some other of the modern painters. But he found a way to paint truly and unique to himself. And it came out of his understanding of the Ageless Wisdom Teachings. Benjamin Creme, if you didn't know it, had this incredible genius of being able to take very lofty, lofty ideas, concepts, and truths of these, the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, and break it down and break it down and break it down to where he could speak it and explain it in the simplest common way, so that somebody such as myself, who perhaps wouldn't understand the way that the Master Tlacote explained it in the Alice Bailey teachings, could understand it better. He was a genius at doing that. And not only that, he had this way of explaining very lofty, esoteric ideas, concepts, and truths in a way that he could paint it in the way that he did. And every one of his paintings, when he painted like this, were trying to explain and represent an esoteric truth. Most people don't understand it in that way. They just see it as a painting, and they either like it or they don't. Benjamin Creme once told me, when I was talking to him and we were just talking about art, he said that his paintings aren't everyone's cup of tea, and I would agree with that. But I do think that in the future, people will know Benjamin Creme more so for the work that he did, letting the world know who and what Maitreya was, and that Maitreya is in the world, introducing humanity to the priorities of the teacher in that way, and doing enough to where Maitreya eventually was able to make his first television interview in the way that he did back in 2009 or 2010, whatever it was. But I do think that when it's really understood, these concepts in a way by the general humanity, will have a better understanding of the way that he painted, and perhaps appreciate his artwork in the future more than we do now. And it is my hope that by talking about his art and the way that I am going to be doing with these videos, that one or two of you out there might become more interested in his paintings. Go to the seriousart.org, check out some of the lithographs that are sale, perhaps get some of the, read for yourself the meaning behind his paintings. Or if you find yourself in Southern California and want to go to the Benjamin Creme Museum, you can listen to my good dear friend Scott Champion, who I think could explain his paintings better than anyone. Then perhaps, I guess the only person that could explain his paintings better than Scott would be Ben himself, really, to be honest. But Scott Champion is very good at explaining the meanings and why he designed it in that way and so forth. And Scott's always really appreciated his art. That's why he took it to a level that no one else has in the group, where they actually created a museum, which was quite an extraordinary thing that he did. Now, this painting is entitled Pluto Routed. Before I get into actually what Benjamin Creme said this painting was, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been hearing in the news lately, and that is about Elon Musk's aspiration to going to the stars and going to other planets and so forth. And I do think it's his ego that's driving him to do this. He wants to be remembered as the first person to basically create an interplanetary humanity. It's not going to be a corporation that does this. It's going to be humanity itself under the wisdom and guidance of these masters. We're going to be the ones that are eventually go to other planets and, go to the stars itself and so forth. But he has this dream of doing it, and in his infinite wisdom, he thinks that it would be a great idea to terraform Mars. And one of the ideas that he had was, why not shoot a couple nuclear missiles to Mars and then detonate them, and then hopefully that will heat the atmosphere up enough to where we can live on it. Well, why is that a bad idea? Well, most people don't realize that a planet is an organism. We see it as this thing. It's not quite alive, it's not quite dead, it's kind of this thing. And that's the reason why we treat our own world in that way. We really are destroying the very environment that's keeping us alive and sustaining us. We're destroying it, right? Well, why not do it to other planets too, right? Well, the reason why it's not a good idea to do that is because there are actually people living on Mars. There's actually 9.5 billion people living on Mars. Now, with the videos and the pictures that we've seen from Mars, you see nothing but red rock. And the reason why you don't see anybody living on Mars is because they're living, and that humanity that's on Mars is living on the etheric planes, which are one of the 4 levels of physicality above gas. Nuclear radiation affects the 4 levels of physicality above gas more than it affects the physical plane of solid, liquid, and gas. The pollution that we are really experiencing that's really making humanity sick, as much as we talk about greenhouse gases, it's really the nuclear radiation, the invisible peril, which is killing humanity off in the way that it's doing. So if we sent nuclear missiles to Mars, it would be devastating for those 9.5 billion people that are on that planet, who have been helping us all along, keeping us from doing that to ourselves. Then we turn around and do it to them. But he doesn't know anything about them. He has no idea about the laws of life. He might be very clever at being able to make money in the way that he does, but he's totally ignorant, as is most of our world leaders, with the laws of life, the laws of cause and effect, the fact that there is humanity on other planets and so forth. And so we kind of do things and say things that really could be very destructive. So hopefully he won't do that. The other thing I wanted to say too is a few videos ago where I was talking about Benjamin Creme's paintings, there was a painting that he did entitled Unity in Diversity. And before I read the description, I was thinking that unity and diversity, he would be talking about humanity, the different types of humanity, that we're all unique and those kind of things. But he didn't. He talked about it in reference to the planets in our solar system, that each planet is unique. But it's kept together by the sun, which is the unity in our solar system. The other thing too that this painting represents is the service work that the humanity on those higher planets are doing, keeping us and protecting us from cosmic evil, from cosmic forces and destruction that would happen if it wasn't for their protection. But what does this painting mean according to what Ben had to say? He said, Pluto routed concerns the external struggle that goes on in every solar system between planets at different stages of evolution. Every planet is an integral part of the one whole, but at the same time, each may be at a different stage. As we humans evolve through many incarnations, so the planets have 7 incarnational cycles, or rounds, each spanning hundreds of thousands of years. In the painting, the central white disk represents Venus, which is in its 7th round, the long yellow form Jupiter, in its 6th round, the red form Mars, the middle of the 4th round, and the green form at the top of the Earth, also in the middle of the 4th round. The black form moving downward is Pluto, in its 2nd round. In the middle of the 4th round, the spiritual nature of a planet begins to manifest, as does that of its population. Pluto is a powerful first-rate planet, but being only in its 2nd round often interferes negatively in the lives of other planets. The painting represents the overcoming of Pluto's destructive activity by the combined spiritual powers of the higher planets to the benefit of the whole system.